Today's top stories on Reuters Breaking Views. Anglo-American is looking for a new boss, a case of cutting off its nose to spite its face, and banks seek to reduce their commodity risk to gain market favour. With me now to discuss these stories is Reuters Breaking Views' Robert Cole. Robert, happy Friday to you.
And to you.
Let's start with Anglo-American. Now, Cynthia Carroll, the CEO, is gone. The company says she's stepping down. Do you think she was pushed, though?
Well, it's difficult to make that kind of stark judgment because clearly she's resigned, she's stepped down, she's gone of her own accord. But I mean, it is very difficult not to come to the conclusion that pressure was building on her to such a great extent that she felt that she was obliged to do the decent thing, if you like. It's a great. They don't have a replacement lined up,
no.
And so it's very, very hard not to draw that conclusion. Although in black and white, it's
and the
not
share price
quite
has gone up about 2-3% today, whereas the market's down. So that suggests that investors were pleasantly surprised, shall we say.
And perhaps more to the point, the share price is actually down about 25% over Cynthia Carroll's tenure, and I think she's paying the price for some underperformance. It's a shame in many ways. You never like these sort of things to happen, and it does show that perhaps all is not as it should be at the top of this company.
So what next? And more importantly, I suppose, who next?
Well, the company's going to do a very broad search, etc., etc., etc. So we don't know, but that only adds to the sort of sense of unease that you have. I mean, it's one thing to replace a chief executive if they're not thought to be doing the right job or producing the right results. But is the company better off with no chief executive at all? Actually, as we know, she'll be in place until next year, until a replacement is found. But it makes one think that actually there's quite a lot, or the board thinks that there's quite a lot going wrong at this company to take such a radical step. Or
one potential candidate might be Mick Davies.
I think that it has been mentioned that Anglo and Xstrata could get together. I think it's probably too late to unstitch that Glencore deal now. But I think I heard this morning that Sir John Parker, the chairman of Anglo-American, basically said he couldn't afford Mick Davies. So I think that would be, it'd be a great story, wouldn't it? But I don't think you should hang your hat on that one. Okay.
Now, of course, with Cynthia Carroll going, that brings the number of female CEOs in Britain's top 100 companies down to 2.
Yeah, from 4, I think,
yes,
because Marjorie Scardino. And I think
that's quite disgraceful, actually, isn't it? 2 out of 100.
It's completely unacceptable to my mind, and feeds into all this story about should we have quotas. And although I don't like quotas, and actually I think you could also say that if there was ever one of the problems with Cynthia Carroll is that there was this feeling that she was put into that position because she's a woman, and there weren't formal quotas, but And that may have meant that she was the wrong person for this job all along, but was seen as being the right person because of her gender, which is the wrong kind of way to operate. Having said that, I am persuaded that quotas are a way forward to try and up the presence of women in these important areas, because it just doesn't seem to be happening any other way. It's not an ideal solution at all. You can get arguably wrong people in the wrong jobs, as arguably is in the case with Cynthia Carroll, but I just don't see any other way of breaking this logjam, really. And what I'd be doing if I was all powerful, I'd say, right, let's have quotas and let's have them in place for, 5 years or 10 years or something. See how it pans out. And, once the logjam is broken, then you can do away with the quotas. But they just need to... Our companies will be better if they're run by more representative and balanced, drawn from the more balanced part of the population.
Okay, let's finish up with commodities and banks. Now, you argue, not you personally, Breaking Views, argues that tougher regulation on commodities trading may actually be a good thing for the banks longer term.
Yeah, it looks a bit unfair because on banks who are being discouraged from owning commodity operations, unfair advantage is being handed, if you like, to newer players, less regulated players who aren't banks in the trading of commodities, and that looks a bit rich. Some high-profile people are being poached away from the banks, and one can see that the banks might feel a little bit hard done by. But at the same time, trading in commodities is risky and it takes quite a lot of capital, and we all know that capital is in pretty short supply. So the silver lining to this cloud is that, perhaps banks can get a better valuation for themselves if they concentrate on other stuff and perhaps leave the capital-intensive commodities trading side behind.
To the speculators. Robert, thank you very much. That's all for now. My thanks there to Robert Cole. For more financial insight, do watch our US Breaking Views show every day at 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 BST. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.